recording. All right. So first place, good place to start. Earnnest. I'd love to find out how many people actually have used Earnnest on the call before. Just a quick show of hands, or if you're off screen, the icon at the bottom. How many folks have used Earnnest before? Yep, Tracy. Great. Chad, Jeanette, Sherry. Okay. Okay. Awesome. About half. Very nice. Always good to know where you're starting. Well, guys, so glad that we could be doing this. I'm going to share my screen and talk through a little bit more about this product. It's not just about the product, our training though today. We really like to kind of paint the narrative of where we have come from. Earnnest wasn't even around in 2016. We were formed in 2017. And when we came into the market, we were formed by real estate agents like yourself. And when we came into the market, no one was really using digital ACH. Transactions typically processed through wires or checks. All right. Some folks were starting to use mobile check upload, but all those methods I just highlighted have the same common problem, and that is fraud. And then, of course, during COVID, you guys are all experienced agents, veterans in the field. You know what happened with wire fraud and check fraud. It went from a bad problem to an exponentially worse problem. Well, Earnnest was formed in 2017 with agents who were concerned about that growing problem. And they basically had a very simple premise. Is there a way we could leverage the ACH network, which is the most secure network in the United States, and plus 80%, more than 80% of funds cross it every day? Is there a way we could leverage it so that it would be good funds so that we could take advantage of that security? And that is what Earnnest did. And that is how Earnnest was born. Now, there's a lot of other in this space, right? But the folks in this space aren't able to provide that good funds promise. What Earnnest has done then is take something that is already inherently secure and made that product something that is good funds. When our Earnnest money deposits actually do deposit, there is no possibility of chargeback or pullback in our network. And that is one of the things with the ACH network that was initially a concern when Earnnest started, is can you prove that you will not allow chargeback pullbacks to affect our escrow accounts? Well, that is our claim to fame, guys. We've moved $3 billion in Earnnest money to date. We've protected over $5 million in chargeback pullback attempts. There's never been any fraud in our system. There's never been a successful impact on our escrow holder accounts, and there never will be because of the system's design. So all that to say by way of introduction that Earnnest has become the #1 solution for digital Earnnest money. We're in all 50 states now. And this is kind of a special training for me. I'll be honest. You guys were one of the earliest accounts to join. Back when Earnnest was a baby organization with a couple dozen clients, Center 21 jumped right in and said, yes, we get this. This is the future. And that meant a lot to us at the time, and it still does. So I'm really glad to be with you all today. Jumping into the actual workflow, you guys have a bunch of great ways to use Earnnest. There's actually more than 15 different ways that folks are using Earnnest today. We have a award-winning phone and desktop app. We integrate into MLSs. We integrate into transaction management platforms like Dotloop. But most of the time today, we're going to spend focusing on what I believe is part and parcel to your workflow, and that is our Dotloop integration. So the Dotloop integration, guys, I'm going to drop links as I go here. This is a good page to save for the simple fact that if there's anything you want to come back and review about our Dotloop integration, it's all going to be on our partner page. Lots of great resources, walkthrough guides, exactly where we're located with inside your loop. All those pieces are here. And I see we have some folks with raised hands. I just want to make sure we're okay. Chad, you have your hand raised? If not, I'll keep going. If you guys do have questions, it's a small enough group. Feel free to just come off mute and interrupt me. No big deal at all. I'll keep going here. As you can see here, though, guys, our Dotloop integration is really seamless. You can access it from inside any one of your loops. And as soon as you're inside your loop here, guys, you see the Send Earnnest Request button up here. That's us. Easy to access. If you're even inside the details of your loop, that button remains. Okay? Now, what's really nice about this integration is if you're using your loop, if you're using the details section to fill out property address, Earnnest money amount, all that information is going to automatically port over into the integration so that you don't have to fill it out. Okay? Let's dive in and see what that looks like. We introduce ourselves. built by agents, for agents, banking level security and encryption. We've never had any fraud. Complete earnest transfers electronically in minutes. Now, if this is the first time you've done this, we will ask for a little bit of information about you. First and last name, email, and phone number. That's it. Subsequent times, guys, you'll just log in like this, and there are no passwords with Earnnest. You will get a 6-digit temporary code. You'll input that, and you'll be good to go. So I'm going to grab that now. Should come in seconds. If you don't see it right away, it might have ended up that first time in your spam or promotions folder, but most of them come right into your inbox. And here you can see what I'm talking about. You'll enter the session, and all of your contract details will already be entered for you. They port it over without you having to input a thing. Buyer email, phone number, earnest money amount, purchase property address, okay? The piece that you need to take care of is down here under who's receiving the payment. It's pretty simple, guys. This is the equivalent of a Netflix smart search. How Earnnest works is we make all of our escrow holders in our network available by searchability and limited by state the property is in. So you're not pulling in anything outside of Utah when you start to search for this, okay? And there's how easy that is. This represents the actual funding source, your escrow account. But by doing it this way, we protect anybody from having to exchange information of any kind. There's no wiring instructions. There's no funding source information. It's just grabbing the correct title, and that title is linked underneath the hood to the correct bank account. Your payers cannot change this. Everything you're inputting on this request right here, guys, is hardwired in. The buyers are going to get an invite from you in a moment when you actually send this, but they can't change any of this core information. You're in control. Acknowledge the above listed escrow holder as the correct one. And then we've added something, actually, even since Russ and I last spoke, we have added the ability. We've always had the ability in our phone app for agents like yourself to add additional email recipients to the authorization receipts that we send out to all parties when a home buyer pays. For those of you that have used the product, you know about the receipts. They're great. We send an email with a PDF copy. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Exactly who's paid, how much, all of that details. That said, what we've added here that we've always had in our phone app is the ability to add additional folks in. But notice, without me having to do a thing, 3 parties are automatically included on the email receipts. Okay, the back office, all right, at Everest is included. You, as the agent, are included, and your buyer are automatically all included. So if you're good with this, go ahead and check the button for a fully executed contract and go in and request the $5,000. Now, I'm not gonna do this, Russ. Don't worry. This is live, and I don't want to send you guys a fake request. But if you were to send this request button, then guys, your buyer within seconds would have this in their inbox. Branded by Earnnest, earnest money payment, and then look at the introductory paragraph here, guys. All the information that identifies the legitimacy of this request, who it's coming from, how much, and for what property is right here. We also do make sure to include our support information. We get it. Not every buyer has done a digital payment. The number of folks who haven't done a digital payment falls by the millions every year, right? Venmo, Zelle, they're basically ubiquitous now. But we get that when it comes to the home buying session, there's probably some of your buyers that have done 5 or 6 purchases, and they've done wires and checks, maybe a digital upload, but never this. So we want this to be comfortable for them and to know they're supported. Their pathway, though, guys, is as simple as clicking this button. And about 3 to 4 minutes after clicking this button, from wherever they are, without driving anywhere, without worrying about any wiring instructions, they're going to have automatically connected their bank, and they're going to have had their ID confirmed, and they will have paid their earnest money. And all parties then will be notified right off the bat by earnest payment receipts. The payment receipt on the left, for those of you agents that have already used us, okay, that's probably pretty familiar to you. You've seen it. This authorization receipt just indicates literally the buyer hit pay in our system. That's it. The receipt on the right, now Russ and his team see these. In 2 to 3 business days on average, the money will deposit, and that's when this receipt is generated. You can use this receipt as an agent to contact our support team, give them any of the details on this receipt, and they will be able to look up not only the transaction, because all of our transactions are on the ACH network, they're ACH files, right? So there's a lot of details we can see when we look at them. We can tell you exactly where they are, if there's any hangups, what's going on. Our support team has access to all of that, but you will always get this receipt when a transaction is authorized. That is the dot-loop integration, everyone. That's how easy and simple this is for you. This is our most popular integration. We have others that are just as robust, but the dot-loop one has taken off for us. Thousands and thousands of agents using this every month. So I'll pause here. This is a good stopping point before we go into the second half of this. What questions do we have so far? Anybody that's used the integration like to speak to it?
I've used it. It's really beneficial for me because I live far away from the office. But my question is, once we get that receipt, does that count as a confirmation of earnest? Is that what we use to confirm that we received the money?
Russ, I'll have to turn that over to you, but we've got brokerages that do it differently. Everyone does it a little differently. Some use the first one, some use the second one. Russ, how are you guys doing that internally today?
I would say we would want the deposit receipt, but really either of them is going to be great to just show that we've sent the request and the client's gone through and done it.
Jeanette, that's really helpful, Russ. Thank you. And Jeanette, to help with your question more, we compare this receipt to when the check is cashed, if you will. But there's more going on here. When a buyer goes through our system, they have to have their bank account checked for sufficient funds. So when they've paid, like, we've made sure they actually have the money in their bank account as well. Now, it's not bulletproof. We cut down on a lot of the cases that would end up in NSF. A client can still go do something like pay $5,000 and then go take out another $1,000 a day later, and suddenly they don't have enough money. We do see that very rarely, but we see it. But we are checking everybody so that when they've got this, when this receipt comes to you, essentially, you know we've done every bit of due diligence we could to make sure they actually did pay. Does that help, Jeanette?
Yes, thank you.
You bet. You bet. Love to hear the long distance story. That's literally how we started. Our chief founder is an agent here in Greenville, South Carolina of 20 years. He had to do a 45-minute one-way drive up into the mountains to get a check. And on the way back, he scribbled out the idea for Earnnest. Said this is ridiculous. So that's part of what we were designed for. Love to hear that. There is a compliment, guys. And if you would like to jump in and download something right now, I don't know how many of you are app savvy. If you got your phone full of hundreds of apps, Earnnest has an award-winning app that is available to all of you as agents for free. Now, it's a desktop app and a phone app. You don't have to use both. You can use one or the other. You access the desktop app by signing in on our website. You can download the phone app for free from the App Store, Google Play, whatever your preference is, your operating system is. Here's the key. If you're already using dot-loop today, you probably signed in with your Everest email, right? Make sure you sign in with the same email that you're using for dot-loop for the phone app. Use the same email address to log into both. Our system is going to see it as one account. Just one account. Why that's important, guys. You may make most of your requests in dot-loop. All right, that's probably going to be your preferred workflow. But as you can see now, I just pulled up the app simulator on my screen. Everybody see that okay? See a couple notes? Okay, perfect. Guys, what's really nice about this is if you are using the same email address for both, it's just one account, you can track all of your requests in the phone app in far more detail, well beyond the receipt you receive. For example, here's that request I just showed you. Expand activity. You can drill into every single step your buyer needs to take. Remember I mentioned that 3 to 4 minute process for them to pay? We break it all out. Accepted equals when they've logged in. Okay, you know they've successfully logged in. Identity confirmed, just what it sounds like. Bank account verified, they connected their bank, usually takes seconds. And then payment is authorized. That will light up at the exact moment you get the receipt. And we don't stop there. We actually let you see it moving across the ACH network as well. It's a Domino's pizza tracker of sorts for earnest money, all right? You guys have the ability to create the requests in Dotloop, but track them in the phone app. And that's where a lot of agents use this today. You can also create the request in the phone app. It's just not quite as convenient as Dotloop because you have to enter in all the details manually. Now, the average agent creates a request in here in under 60 seconds. But with Dotloop, you guys can port everything over in 10 seconds. So, seconds matter. But it's a nice feature to add in addition to your Dotloop integration. Any questions about that, guys? I'll drop the resource here for you. You can obviously go to the App Store, Google Play, but this page also has a lot of other features that you can dig into that the phone app offers. Any questions, guys? We're almost done. I know it's been a long week for y'all, so we're going to be wrapping this up shortly. Any questions? Okay, I hope this has been helpful. The last part is actually usually one of the parts we get follow-up from agents on a lot. They really like it. We don't just shove a product at you guys. Obviously, hopefully you can tell that from this training. We try to talk about why the product exists, the security and the good funds. Then we talk about the product. We close the training by talking about our resources. We don't just hand you guys a product and say, see ya. We provide dozens of ready-made agent and buyer-facing resources. This is one of the Earnnest differences. We have agents every month reach out and go, my buyer presentation, when I got hold of your resources, I was able to make the introduction to Earnnest so much smoother. So if you ever see something that's not in our library, which is extensive, let us know. We have a dedicated success team, and I'm dropping that email address right now. It is success@earnnest.com. They will usually respond same day. If you have a marketing need or a use case question, resources of any kind, or even training. Maybe you're a transaction coordinator, or you work for a top team, whatever this case may be, let us know how we can help you. That said, you can see here, this is one of our most commonly used pieces. Agents will put this in their buyer portfolio. And then when the buyer comes time to make their payment, they have a simple visual guide for what they're going to see screen to screen. The payment process is not hard, guys. Thousands of buyers are going through this every day, right? But it's nice to have a visual alongside for some of those buyers that maybe are a little bit more tech challenged. So it's there. What about our security? We're in Greenville, South Carolina, and I think it was about 2015, the South Carolina state government had a breach, and it was something like over 90% of our Social Security numbers were kind of scattered to the wind. What are you going to do? The point is that if you guys are like us over here, I think it's probably universal, your buyers are going to have some security questions. What about my bank? They see my login credentials. What do they see? Well, the answer is, and you can reinforce it with this, guys, we don't see anything. Earnnest is one of the few companies that doesn't want any of your buyers' information. It's part and parcel core to our security. So we don't see banking information. We don't see login credentials. In technical terms, we get tokenized information temporarily that then escapes and is gone. So we never even actually see the actual numbers or login information. And that's the way we want it. This is also really helpful because, again, for many of you, experienced agents, you guys are dealing with buyers on their 6th, 7th, 8th home. They're going to be pretty comfortable with a wire or a check probably at this point in their lives. And, it's helpful to see a comparison of what Earnnest does and how it stacks up. Okay. So that's another resource. 1 out of every 4 home buyers is bilingual. So we've tried very hard to make sure our pieces are also available in Spanish. So that is something as well that is available for you guys, for all of our guides. And probably the most critical piece, I really am proud of this team. I joined Earnnest early enough when we had 2 people on our support team. They worked in a little office in a basement of a law firm here in town. And that was our start. I've seen this team grow into a professional, excellent, highly responsive team. It is in-house 100%. It is available for you 8 to 8, Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. It doesn't have weekend hours because money doesn't move on the ACH network on weekends. But please rest assured, if you call on a weekend, your call will be returned before 10 o'clock following Monday morning. This is an amazing team. We get praise on this every week. Email them, call them. 95% of our cases are responded to same day. It's actually closer to 100%, but we try to make sure that we're always underselling it a little bit, but it's in most states, it's actually 100%. And they will take care of any technical or even non-technical question. To this day, guys, 40% of our cases have an LP next to them. That just means learning path. There was nothing technically wrong. Buyer just wanted to be walked through, and our team will do that for them as well. So any questions you or your buyer have, please do avail yourself of this resource. They are excellent. They'll explain exactly what's going on. And in most cases, it's nothing serious at all. Over 90% of Earnnest transactions go through our system without any touching from support. And as I mentioned, almost 40 to 50% of the ones we do get called on, there's nothing even technical at all. The remainder are usually solvable very quickly. It might be a buyer who has a credit union and they have to do micro deposits. They can't automatically connect their bank. That's not actually anything technically wrong. They just need a walkthrough for how to do that. Okay. So I hope this has been helpful. We try to provide really good resources. I'm going to go to my screen now just so y'all can see it. Our resources page is right here. I'm dropping this link for you guys. There are literally dozens of resources in there. You guys are probably going to want to start on the real estate agent page. And again, I'll drop some of these most relevant pages to you. And I believe, Russ, we have already provided many of these and may already be available within the resource library that y'all keep. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm sure we do have it. Yeah.
If not, you always can ping me and we'll get you whatever you guys need. So let's open it up for questions. We're got about 6 minutes left. What questions do we have? I either did a bad job or a good job. Hopefully it's the former. Joanne, yes.
Do you have that success website again, or what it was?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let me drop you the success at earnnest.com. They also have their own landing page, both our support and success teams. So I'm going to drop the success landing page. And again, that's for marketing, training, any kind of feature questions you have. And then our support team is for anything technical. Your buyer calls you and says, I don't know how to do this, or I'm seeing this message. That's our support team. Does that help, Joanne?
Yes, thanks.
Perfect. Any feedback from those that have used it before we close this out, unless there are other questions?
It's awesome.
I was just going to send in the chat. Thanks. It's a great program, but I can't figure out how to actually send a little chat. So thank you.
No problem. I pulled a fast one, y'all, and used Google Meets today. So
Yeah, it's different. So anyway, I think it's a great program. It's super simple.
Love to hear that, Sherry. Very good. Very good. We've built it based on feedback from agents like yourself. Well, Russ, I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to stop the recording now. Doesn't mean if there aren't other questions.
Blaine, real quick question for you.
Yes.
The fee that